Hey everybody, and we're back. If you notice anything different, it's because I wanted to do a quick little gimmick at the beginning of this video. No, I don't wear a surgical mask at all times while I'm sitting inside. That would be ridiculous. However, thanks to a number of very kind benefactors on the internet, I have a personal supply of numerous types of masks. Well, not so numerous. I have some surgical masks, which is this, and I have the N95 masks. And I'm not going to apologize for having this small personal supply. It's not my personal responsibility to hand over what little amount I do have to medical workers in my area. That ideally would be the responsibility of, I don't know, the government, massive multinational corporations, etc. Not me, some guy sitting alone in his domicile. Okay, so if the S really hits the fan, I would like to have a couple of these on hand. I went to a Walgreens a week ago. That was really the last time I've been out because I'm sitting in the epicenter of the pandemic. And to go there, I actually wore the full N95 mask. Now, I know people are saying, oh, you have a beard, so it doesn't work. Well, I don't know if it fully works with a beard or not. I guess it probably doesn't. But I'm not shaving the beard, okay? I've had it since like 2005 or something. So, in a way, I'd rather get the virus than shave the beard. And, maybe if I was working day to day with intubated COVID 19 patients, I'd shave the beard, but that's not my situation. And now the gimmick is over, so I'm going to remove the mask. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. If you don't have your own personal supply of masks, I don't know what to tell you. I guess make your own out of some kind of cloth or some other material. Because I have a moderately sized internet platform, people send me stuff unsolicited. And so, I got a bunch of these babies now. Because there are some people who want me to stay alive to such a degree that they will pay to send me the supplies that could conceivably be required for me to remain alive. Maybe as a little teaser, I will promise to wear the N95 mask on the next stream. So, if you want that special reward for tuning in, you can rest assured that I'm going to wear that on the next one. Because that's what we're now resorting to in these times of endless quarantine, showing off our masks. I feel like I am generally at least more prescient than the average person in terms of political developments, but I would not have anticipated 2 months ago that we would be in a situation where we're all sitting at home showing off masks on live stream. That I did not anticipate. But so be it. I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about here. I just felt like I hadn't done a live stream in a couple days, and that was not right. That was a disservice to my loyal viewership, who are probably a fairly wacky group of people, I'd have to think. So if you're wacky enough to be wanting to tune into this at 11:41 on a Friday night while you're under quarantine, you're probably intoxicated. You're probably, if you're living with others, utterly appalled at the conditions that you're in, where you have to constantly interact with people that you'd rather not interact with on a daily basis. You can't get privacy. I actually have spoken to some people who just contacted me privately who are like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. I'm with my mom or my brother or whoever all the time, and we can't go anywhere, and so I have to be sitting around dealing with them all day, and it's just like, yeah, that would probably be pretty frustrating. I can sympathize. I'm domiciled on my own here, so it's just me and a computer and a blank wall, and probably a little more trash accumulating around me than is healthy, because I've been putting that off because I don't want to go down to the dumpster. And the nice lady who occasionally comes and cleans for me and who I pay, uh, there's some issues with that given the pandemic situation. So I got to figure out a remedy there at some point, which is why I'm not going to flip the camera around and show you the uh, the scenario around me because it's not pretty. I will admit that. Um, what is there to say? I mean, the one thing I don't get is why we're still waiting on a number of states to declare lockdowns or shelter in place orders. Um, Florida took a while to declare that. It should have done, you would think, it should have been done, you would think, 2 weeks ago at minimum. And yet, only today, or yesterday actually, did the Florida lockdown order actually go into effect. How is that possible? Well, I mean, I think the basic explanation is a political one. Governor Ron DeSantis did not want to be seen as contradicting Trump or taking any measures which would be in conflict with Trump in terms of perceptions. So Trump gave a very ominous press conference on, when was that, Monday or Tuesday? And then Ron DeSantis gets the either implicit or explicit okay. I think it was actually explicit because he said that he was in contact with the Corona task force, the White House. And then all of a sudden, okay, he says, I'm going to relent and impose a statewide lockdown. And so the arguments that were marshaled as to why a statewide lockdown or shelter in place order was unnecessary for the past several weeks have just been avoided. Apparently it was necessary. So if it was necessary all along, why not just do it at the outset? Because then you're taking an action which could curtail the spread of the virus. But now, in the 2 weeks that you waited around and lollygagged, the virus has continued to spread. Maybe it would spread anyway. Because as we're now finding out, this virus is pretty obviously airborne. And not just airborne where you're standing across from somebody at close proximity, they're infected with the virus, they cough, then you get the virus. It's just like, no, do you really think that at the rate that this is spreading, everybody who contracts the virus is directly coughed on by somebody who has it? First of all, we don't know how long exactly it even takes for an infected cough to dissipate. So, one reason why I, as a personal precaution, have been wearing masks whenever I go out for the past couple weeks, even before it was declared as a formal order, is because it didn't seem plausible to me that transmission was as sort of narrow as was being suggested. Like, this idea that you would only get it if you're directly coughed on. I mean, how is that possible given the rates of infection we're seeing around the world? I would think you could get it if you just are walking down the street and 5 minutes before somebody walked down the street and they have the virus and they're just breathing, and then you walk into what they were breathing. And guess what? I'm not that confident in public health proclamations at this point, at least coming from the authoritative sources, quote unquote. You've all heard about the problems with the WHO. Obviously, were either intentionally fudging details early on or didn't have all the details. Either way, what they were saying about the nature of the virus was clearly not authoritative. And then we were told by all the people who were supposedly in positions to know that masks were not effective. Now, even if masks don't protect you in all circumstances from the virus, how is it possible, using your common sense, that a mask could be a bad thing? Don't you think having a physical barrier, however imperfect it may be, between your mouth and nose and the outside world might be at least an improvement compared to not having the physical barrier? If the options are have the barrier or don't have the barrier, I'm going to choose to have the barrier. Okay? And yet, we spent weeks having these bizarre debates over the efficacy of masks. And it's just like, why is it seen as socially mandatory in Asian countries, East Asian countries that have been relatively more successful in curbing the virus, that if you're outside, you must wear the mask or else you are shunned? South Korea. Are all the people of South Korea just delusional? Do they have no idea what they're talking about? Or maybe they're actually a little bit more acquainted with the nature of pandemics, which have been originating at a disproportionate rate in East Asia. It's just like, use your basic intuition. Barrier versus no barrier. I mean, it's not that hard to grasp, just on a very almost trivially basic level. And yet, you get this conflicting information for weeks upon weeks where people are debating these minute details of mask wearing. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to choose to wear the mask. And guess what? Now Donald Trump says to wear the mask. Now the mayor of Los Angeles says everybody should wear a mask. Bill de Blasio. I mean, they're all coming around to something that should have just been utterly ordinary common sense. And, when I first started discussing this, I admitted that it was not an area of focus for me from the beginning. During the most critical juncture of coronavirus, when preventative action could have been taken, I will stand up and freely concede that I was not somebody who was following the ins and outs of every epidemiological development. I'm not an infectious disease expert or somebody who really, as a matter of course, spent a lot of time and energy monitoring that kind of thing. However, so I'm not going to say that I was prescient and I predicted it and all that. Okay? I was only faintly aware of Wuhan being locked down when that happened. I was exponentially more focused on the Democratic primary race and impeachment. So I'll grant that. But once the gravity of the situation became clear, I want to say, I don't know, mid to late February sometime, then I was saying, okay, this is a real thing. Let's figure out how to proceed here. And I got inundated with, mostly these right-wing tough guys who were saying, you're such a pussy, bro. You're wearing a mask when you're going outside in the epicenter of the pandemic? Pussy. Wuss. Are you wearing a dress? Let's say they would call you like a girl. I mean, they sound like Biff from Back to the Future or something. That's how these nitwits sounded. And guess what? Fast forward a month, Donald Trump is saying this. Donald Trump is saying wear a mask. So unless you're going to call Donald Trump an SJW wussy piece of shit, whatever I was called, then apparently you got it wrong, tough guy. If you're such a freaking tough guy, why don't you go out and contract the virus and report back to us on how nice it is? Why don't you go to one of the hospitals in New York City or New Jersey where they're being totally overloaded, where the nurses are breaking down in tears, where the doctors are dying. I was just at a hospital like 6 weeks ago in Bergen County visiting a sick relative for something unrelated. And guess what? It was just revealed a couple days ago that a doctor at that very hospital died of coronavirus. Okay, so why don't you friggin' idiot tough guy, head on over to that hospital. Don't wear a mask. Don't wear any protective gear, and go check it out. Breathe in the air. Let it lather all over you. Make sure you stay in for for an extended period of time, so you consume and absorb a lot of viral load. Make sure. Then, if you're so tough, you can report back to us on how it is. You could do your own tough guy live stream. Okay, send it to me. I'll promote it, and then you can prove that you're so tough. And that includes some of the tough guys currently in this live stream, apparently, who still haven't budged from their tough guy dismissive attitude. I don't know what it will take. I mean, do you think the governor of Mississippi is a wuss? Do you think the governor of Florida is a wuss? Do you think Donald Trump is a wuss? Do you think Modi in India is a wuss? Do you think Netanyahu is a wuss? Who are all... I mean, these wusses. Orban in Hungary taking emergency measures. So these are all the people who are hysterical, who the people in the comments right now, who I'm trying to ignore, but they intrude onto my stream of thought. They're the ones that are being called an SJW wuss hysterical something. I don't get it. I don't even know how to reason with you anymore. They're telling you don't freak out. They're telling you not to panic. I'm not panicked. Am I running around with my head on fire? No, I'm sitting inside as a responsible citizen, as a citizen with responsibility to the wider public, but also to myself. I'm sitting in my dwelling. I'm not panicking. I'm not, running around with my hair on fire. I don't know what panicking even means. Like, how are you supposed to react when you see the death toll in the area that you live in increasing exponentially? How am I supposed to react when I hear that the principal of the middle school that I went to in New Jersey died of coronavirus at age 48, and his wife stated that he had no underlying health conditions and was the picture of health? Is that just a normal occurrence? And I'm still getting these losers. I'm going to even end the stream now because I can't deal with people trolling me saying I'm panicking. How am I panicking? Explain what that means in detail. You're cherry-picking emotional examples. What are you talking about, you utter moron? How am I cherry-picking emotional examples? Look at the death rates in New York City. I'm in the New York City area, you moron. Look at the death rates in Detroit. Look at the death rates in New Orleans, in Miami, other places. Like, what are you talking about? I would hope for your own sake, you people making these comments still now, I would hope that your dismissive attitudes that you're projecting into this live stream don't affect how you personally behave in relation to the virus, or how you encourage the people around you to behave. Because if so, that means we're all going to be stuck on a lockdown for much longer than people would like. I mean, they're saying it's going to be until the end of April. I doubt it. I truly doubt it. because I still look out my window here and I see people strolling in the park without social distancing. So if I can look out my little window at my narrow little sliver of the world and see people not abiding by basic standards to limit the spread of the virus, I can only imagine what's going on elsewhere. And normally I will go out and at least try to report and observe on this stuff, but I'm trying to abide by the public health strictures that are not just being told to us by Democrats or liberals or leftists or progressives, but by conservatives and Republicans and Donald Trump and everybody, okay, with the exception of the most delusional paranoids who somehow think the entire world, half the world being on lockdown, is the product of a conspiracy. I mean, what do you even say at this point? It's just crazy. Um, yeah, and I'm now worked into a tizzy. I don't even want to do this anymore because I need to figure out a way to disable my comments on my phone here because it's just so maddening to see what you assholes are trying to say. I mean, trolling is fine. I can take it. I get trolled all day, every day. Not a big deal. But, part of this live stream is that I try to focus on what I'm saying so I'm clear and coherent. And yet I get inundated with troll comments. And I just find them particularly annoying right now. So next time, I'm going to make a mental note where I change the commenting format where it doesn't appear on my screen like this. Maybe I'll do something where I only see super chats. I don't know what exactly, but I can't deal with you idiots right now. It's truly annoying and not worth stress because increased levels of stress are bad for your immune system, bad for your psychological health, etc. So you people who are trolling me and telling me to relax, okay, I'm going to relax, and I'm going to do it by turning off the stream. So, there you go. You won. Goodbye.